Today, Morgan is unique in the motor industry. A lot of the work that we do on the cars is still handcrafted, working with aluminium and wood. We've been building cars out of the same workshops for almost 100 years now. We like to think of ourselves as really the last of the true British motor manufacturers. We have a huge archive here, looking at the chassis records that we've got in front of us. This is a book from the mid-1950s. I'm Martyn Webb, I'm the archivist, museum curator, and I do a lot of the guided tours around the Morgan factory. The Morgan Motor Company has been run by 3 generations of the Morgan family. Harry Morgan, his son Peter, and currently Charles Morgan is running the business. I'd like to share with you a little bit of their story. The first car that Harry built was in 1909. This was a simple device, tubular steel chassis, a little bit like a motorcycle frame, and set transversely across the front was a motorcycle V-twin engine. It was originally intended for his own personal use, but after a while other friends and family decided, well, here was a really useful little machine. Perhaps he should go into the business of making these. He developed what was known as the runabout. Cycle cars were very much in favour immediately before the First World War. They were seen as the average man's transport, an alternative to a motorcycle and sidecar. And because of that, Harry Morgan was very successful. HFS Morgan ran the business throughout the 20s and 30s, but throughout the 1930s the three-wheeler was starting to get less popular. And just to stem falling sales for the three-wheeler, he introduced the first four-wheeler Morgan. That was known as the Morgan 4.4, and that was a very big success in its day. The first car appeared in 1936 and were produced alongside three-wheelers before the Second World War. Following the end of the Second World War, Peter Morgan joined his father, Harry, and subsequently took over the running of the business. Peter developed the four-wheeler from the initial 4.4, fitted a slightly bigger engine to create the Plus 4, and then design changes brought us to the design that everybody is familiar with today. I think the secret of Peter's success was really because he was a true enthusiast and a very skilled engineer. So he wasn't just in it for a business to make money, he was in it because he had a passion for sports cars. He himself would drive in all kinds of trials, motor races. He was competing in these cars as well as building them. Peter's son Charles had a passion for motor cars, as you would expect growing up in a motor manufacturing family. And by the mid-1980s he had joined his father Peter in the business. The Aero 8 was launched in March of 2000 and really amazed the motoring world that Morgans could come up with such a radically different car, from an engineering point of view that is, while still retaining those classic Morgan features, the long flowing wings, the familiar radiator grille. The Aero 8 went into production in the early 2000s and has remained so ever since, being the high-performance version of the Morgan alongside the classic range of cars. The Aero Max was a high-performance streamlined coupe Morgan that was built on the same chassis as the Aero 8. This beautiful streamlined coupe was named after Charles's son, Max. We built a limited edition of just 100 examples of this rather exciting car. The cars today retain a lot of the original techniques that would have been used almost 100 years ago. A lot of the work that we do on the cars is still handcrafted, working with aluminium and wood to create a work of art. But alongside that, we're using techniques out of the aircraft industry, out of the rest of the motor industry, using advanced technologies. Most of the work is done by craftsmen who've been here in many instances for many decades. And it has that family feeling because, in addition to the Morgan family, we've got a lot of craftsmen here whose fathers and grandfathers would have worked here before them. The future for Morgan cars, it's looking rather positive because we're introducing some rather exciting new models. We've recently introduced the three-wheeler, which has given us a whole new aspect of the company, and that is going to be a major part of what we do for the foreseeable future. We're also looking at all kinds of new exciting techniques and materials, so far from looking back at the last 100 years, we're very much looking forward to the next century and developing another generation of really exciting sports cars.